You are tuned in live to episode 7 of the Spots We Miss podcast and live talk with your host, Nikita Nicole. Today, we're still talking about being woman as we conclude the final episode in our series. We have Shirley Arrington, Julie Patterson weighing in on that, and truly it's a family affair. We also have your weekly pandemic report. Great news. All of our social platforms are in one place. Click the link in the description box and we'll have access to our blog and our podcast. Get ready for real talk, real ideas, and real love. You're tuned in to the Spots We Miss. Hi, everyone. So glad you tuned in today. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Spots We Miss podcast and live talk. I am your host, Nikita Nicole. Today is episode 7 of the Spots We Miss. And if you've been following us, you know that this is the third part 3. We covered episode 5 was part 1 of Being Woman. Episode 6 was part 2 of Being Woman. And today, episode 7 is the final episode in our series. We had a 3-part series. And so I'm so excited. And I'm also excited that this is episode 7. It just seems like just the other day, we started with just episode 1. And we have just been going strong. And I just want to thank everyone for supporting us, supporting this podcast, and joining us week after week. Truly, we appreciate it. You guys are interacting on our blogs and liking our social platforms and just keeping up with what we do. And so we certainly do appreciate that. And I'm just so grateful for everyone. Today we have some guests with us, and I like to call it a family affair. And I'm going to be introducing my guests very soon. But I want to give you guys a recap from the previous episodes. On episode 1, one of the things that we discussed was, of course, we always talk about motherhood, but one of the things that I struggled with over the years, and now I think I'm getting a handle on it, is gaining my femininity back and that part of the woman that God made me to be. And so, sometimes we have those trials and those tribulations, and sometimes we kind of, we grow a hard exterior. And before we know it, we can just be really hard. And when I say feminine, I don't mean like lipstick and makeup. I'm talking about just that general person, that woman that God made you to be. But sometimes life gets in the way and we become hard. And, that's because sometimes we are operating in roles that we were never meant to operate in. And so, that can kind of give you a bit of a rough exterior. Then we were talking about, Takessa joined us in episode 6, and we talked about submission. We talked about women in healthcare and how women have been discriminated in healthcare. And of course, we covered motherhood, and as well as women having hard talks and just, creating those boundaries and, maybe reintroducing yourself as a woman when things are changing for you. So those are some of the things we discussed. And man, I feel like we have had such good conversation. And, you can go back if you didn't see episode 5 and 6, you can go back into our YouTube channel. We're on YouTube as Nikita Nicole. We're on Facebook as Dippity Dewdrops, and I'll put that in the description box as well. But also all of our social platforms are in one place. And all you have to do is click the link in our description box, and it'll take you to our podcast. It'll take you to our social platforms, and it'll also take you to our blog. And that is in the description box. So we are about ready for some real talk, some real ideas, and real love. I'm excited about the show, and I'm excited about just the people that we have tuned in today. And like I said, it's a family affair. So without further ado, I want to introduce for the first time my mom, Shirley Arrington, and my aunt, Julie Patterson. They are new to the Spots We Miss. And man, when I tell you, I asked my aunt the other day. I was like, so what do you think, about coming on or whatever? And she said yes. And I was like, oh, oh shoot. I mean, man, I was so excited. I just feel like she has so much to contribute and so much to offer. And of course, my mother who raised me, I just feel like, her input about everything is so important. I am at the age now where I appreciate all the stuff my mom said to me. And I remember talking to one of my friends who was having an issue with one of her girls. And I said, she's just not at the age where she can appreciate you right now. And so I'm at that age now where everything that my mom said was right. So I can appreciate just having my mom on the show, and I know that you have so much to contribute and to offer. So I'm just going to start with you, ladies. You know, I was saying that no one really asks the woman how the woman feels or what she thought about her life or any struggle or anything. And I think that we talked about this in episode 6, that strong Black woman demeanor came from women also didn't really share how they felt. They just did it, they just did what it took. And so because we always appear so strong, that could be some of the reasons why people didn't ask, but the bare bones of it is that people really don't ask us how we feel as women. And so I want you ladies to tell me a little bit about how you guys were raised and how you got your start.
Well, we were raised, first of all, let me just say thank you for having me here today. I'm so proud of you for this platform because it's a very good platform to say some of the things that's going on in the world today, open discussion and good dialogue. We were raised in a spiritual household. All we knew, we don't know our mother any other way. We know her as a church on Sunday, church on Wednesday, church on Friday, and a strict upbringing household. Had rules and guidelines. We ate at the dinner table together, all around the table. Um, it was marvelous in a lot of ways, and then in some ways it was a bit much because it was strict.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but we were raised in a 2-parent household,
Yes.
which is almost unheard of today.
Yes.
So we had a mother and a father. We had the traditional uh, nuclear family, as I guess they call it. So we had the father who worked, and our mother stayed at home and took care of the kids. So there was always dinner on the table. There was no to go out to McDonald's or anywhere. Well, there wasn't McDonald's, but then to go out and eat out, even a TV dinner was a treat at that time. So
Yes.
that's like a big, huge difference in what's going on now.
Oh, it is. And you know what? I always say that when I think about how you guys were raised, I always think like Walton's, like, very traditional household, just people today would feel blessed to come from a household like how y'all were raised. And, even Takessa and I were talking about last week how that, our grandmother, she didn't just want things in order. It also needed to look like it was in order. And just from even just the house y'all were raised in was just such a beautiful, pristine, home. And I just was like, my mom even said that even when y'all were coming up, that people were like, thought that y'all were like wealthy because of how y'all were raised and stuff. And so, and us as grandkids coming up, we were just like, so I always just, I always say we need to reach and draw from the generation before us so y'all could tell us how it was. And one of the things, Auntie Carolyn, she couldn't be on, but I was talking to her And I told her that I was going to quote her on some of the things we were talking about, but she was even talking about just race and discrimination, what she witnessed. And she's in your, right around your age group, Mom. And she was talking about just, you know, some of the race and discrimination and things that she saw, because I was just interested when the climate that we're in with, you know, we have the Black Lives Movement, we have this police brutality, we have, you know, a very noticeable level of inequity among, you know, our heritage, our culture. And I always say that if we think it's bad now, what did y'all think about it? You know, when y'all were coming up, if we think it's bad now, and I think it was so much more blatant when you all were coming up. So I asked Auntie, like, what were some of your experiences? And she was talking about a time when she went down one of her first kind of like introductions to racism, like blatantly like that, is when y'all were traveling to Louisiana. And she said that she went into a store or a restaurant or something, and they told her that she could not come in the front, that she had to go to the back. And she said that was so like a shock for her, being from the Midwest, being from Michigan, living in the same world, but in a different place, and how different times were. And the reason why I find those things so fascinating and interesting is because today we see more of it institutionalized now, but back then it wasn't. It's, you know, it was just, they weren't shy about it. You know what I mean? It was just straight up prejudice. And so just living through that. And one of the things we touched on last week was the discrimination in healthcare. You know, there are women who in healthcare who had their whole bodies taken out. Black women specifically, because we were discriminated. They didn't take the time to look inside of us and say, okay, this is a small fibroid, we can take that out. And so there was so much that women, especially Black women, had to go through, you know, in those times. What are some times that you kind of feel like were some really difficult times, or even if it's something now that you've been experiencing with regard to, you know, women discrimination? Mom, you can start.
Discrimination, even now, it's more open, but I want to say back then when we was coming up, what my sister was talking about years ago, when we were on our way to Louisiana to New Orleans, they told you had to go in the back door. They don't tell you that today, because they have permission to undercover prejudice, undercover racism. But we're seeing a lot of it today, but only in a different way. Back then, they were racist, and they let you know they were racist. Today, they cutthroat. You know, they as they say, the Karens. It's coming out more
in different ways
than it back there. They just they did that. You know, and today they sneaky with it, they undercover with it, they cutthroat. But I can remember a time when I went into a store to purchase something, and they waited on all the white people, and I'm just standing there, and they just disregard me as if I was not even there. You know, and I noticed that they still kind of do that kind of stuff today.
Yeah.
They overlook you. They can see you. They look you dead in your face. You say hello, they don't speak.
Yeah.
You look at all the murders today. They're in a hurry to shoot Black men. Just shoot them. you know, and it's very disgusting. It's very disgusting. We didn't when I was coming up, you didn't hear a lot of shooting, killing black men. You didn't hear that. You heard more racism in different areas than killing a person.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think it's a whole lot different today.
Mhm.
I just think it's done in a more openly um, way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that so what Curlin told you about back in that day, back then it was like Shirley said, it was they were open with it. They were allowed to.
Mhm.
That's and so then when you get into having the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, that's when they had to institutionalize it because they
Mhm.
could no longer just blatantly tell you this water fountain is black, this water
Mhm.
fountain is white. So they had to institutionalize it and make up laws
Mhm.
that kept black people in their place, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that black
Mhm.
people weren't able to prosper as or play on an even playing field as white people do. So,
Mhm.
that's what the difference is for me. I think they came up with different rules and different laws and different things because they
Yeah.
couldn't just tell you you go to the back of the bus.
Yeah.
A white water fountain, a black bathroom, a white bathroom. They couldn't do that. So they
Mhm.
had to come up with other ways to keep you down. And then also with the racism is like I had a similar situation where I went into a upscale furniture store
Mhm.
and I walked in and there were two white people and they literally turned around and looked at me and turned right back around like I hadn't even walked in the store. So I walked out, and to this day, I said I will never buy anything out of that store.
Mhm.
And then I had a boss at a bank that was prejudiced. So, but
Yeah.
that's the way it is. But he tried to be kind of undercover with it. But you know when it's happening because the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. You know when
Mhm.
it's happening.
Yeah,
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so they're a little more sneaky with it because they,
yeah.
but it's still around, and I don't really see it going away. I don't see that changing, actually.
I Me either. I don't see that changing. I think it's
Mhm.
here. It's here, and that's just the way it is.
I think, yeah, I don't
We
see
have
it
to
changing.
address it accordingly.
Wow.
But you have to change laws. You have to really get some
Mhm.
legislation going that changes laws, and there are things hidden in the laws that are not favorable for Black people.
That's
That's the
true,
way it
right?
is, and you have to change laws. You have to get some legislation going and change things. And
Mhm.
that's the only way. And I just really don't see that happening.
Wow. Now, as you all were talking, and Auntie was telling me about her experience in Louisiana, uh, I remember her saying that she said, but I said, did you feel like you were kind of like immune to it? She said, I never got used to that. She said, it always felt bad. She said, it always, made you feel bad. She said, and it always made you upset. She said, I never got immune to it. Like I never was used to it.
Yeah.
The first time, I always knew about racism and things like that, but the first time that it ever happened, like really blatantly, I was really young. I had to be probably about 19, and I had this gym membership, and I'm not going to say their names because they're still out, but I had this membership, and I said, "You guys cannot." I said, "You can't do that to me." I said, you cannot charge me for a full year. I didn't sign up for a full year. This is when they were getting your signature and putting you in a contract. And because I was young, they get the college students out of, right out of high school, and they had put me in it for a year. And I remember saying, you can be sued for that. And that lady said, people like you don't have lawyers. And I was like, oh. And that was the first time that I kind of got a taste of what I had heard. You know what I mean? I had heard about, Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights March and the Civil Rights Movement. I had heard all of those things, but I was like, oh, I'm a part of that culture now. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. So that was really eye-opening. As a woman, I think that it made me maybe have maybe a feeling, you know, you're still developing yourself at the age of 19. So I think it probably gave me a little bit of inferiority with white people because I just almost didn't know where I stood. It was very confusing for me. But it also made me angry too. So, but yeah, just as women, you know, we cannot talk about our history with being a woman. We can't talk about anything about our lives without talking about prejudices. And it's always been a part of our past. So we can't talk about it. And I know sometimes people are like, well, why are you guys still talking about it? It is rich within the fabric of our culture and our lives. And, you know, it's not something that you harp on, but it is a reference point, you know, in your life. So, so thank you for just contributing to that part. I have another question. And I'm going to start with Auntie for this one because, so I recently read something. Tina Knowles had given a interview or something, maybe at one point. And what she said was that her parents, she said they were very poor. And she said that for her and her siblings, they went to this Catholic school. And she said that at first I thought it was her that did it, but it was her parents. It was her mother and father. The father, he would be like a driver for the nuns of the Catholic school, and the brother would clean up the school. She's the youngest sibling, so her older brother would clean up the school, and her father would drive the nuns around. And she always wondered why they had such a connection to the school. Like, what is that all about? You know? And she found out later that her parents were bartering. Her parents were bartering so that they could go to that school, that they could have a good education, because she wanted her kids to have a good education. And at that time, going to a Catholic school was considered secondary education. And she found out later that her parents were paying for their tuition for them to go to that school.
Service.
Huh?
Service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that brought me. So when I thought about that, I thought, what a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is like, oh my goodness. Like, woo. I mean, that had to be a lot, you know, to kind of like, you know, a huge chunk to swallow. So that brought me to thinking, though, our parents have also, though, maybe not in that exact way, but so has my mom sacrificed for me, and so have my aunts sacrificed for their children. So that brought me to my next question, to talk about some of the sacrifices that you made. And there are even sacrifices that your kids don't even know you made, you know? So I'll start with Auntie on that one.
You know what? I think I look at that a little differently. I look at it like we all make sacrifices for our kids. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, big or small, it's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Because your life drastically changes when you have children, and there are things that you have to do that it's a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So I don't have particular things. I know I've made a lot of sacrifices, mm-hmm. but I don't have a story like Tina Knowles. I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't have to drive the nuns around, but
can you imagine that?
You know what I'm saying? But I did what I could to try to get them in better schools so that they didn't have to go to public schools, and but I think that we as parents, we make sacrifices, I mean, whether they're big or small, it is a part of being a parent. So I don't have a Tina Knowles story. Sorry.
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
sacrifices were there
yeah, we're always
for sure.
sacrificing.
Yeah, for
Always.
sure. For sure.
The one of the sacrifices, we don't think about ourselves. We think about our children.
Yep,
We
that's a
give a
sacrifice.
we give a
That's a
part of
sacrifice.
us up so that we can stay focused on our children. But like Julie said, I don't have a one particular sacrifice. It's just that we do what we have to do
Mhm.
Exactly.
to
Exactly.
survive and
Right.
and especially as a single parent, you don't have time to think about now let me sacrifice this. You just keep on going just to
Mhm.
keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
You keep on.
For sure. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, you keep on.
Yeah.
And it's just by the grace of God that we made it and that our children are decent children. And it's because we kept our grind on, you know.
Mhm.
Uh
You both definitely did that.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now as you get older, I sacrificed some things. I remember when you were on your assignment from the Lord to go to Mississippi.
Yep.
Oh God, that. But you were an older young woman then. I mean, you were a young woman, but well, I think you may have been 20, 21, something like that. I don't know,
I was
but
I was young, a little bit older. I was younger, but
yeah,
that was
and me being mother, I didn't want you to be somewhere in a state you had never been before.
mhm.
Okay, and I wanted to make sure that so I would send money so that you wouldn't be lacking too much.
Yes. And
And
I was
Yeah.
calling a lot too.
yeah, so I was I was sacrificing so that you could be okay.
Yeah. And I definitely can relate to that. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
definitely can relate to that.
I remember I was going to school. I was doing ministry down there. And let me tell you something. I just thought, oh, it's gonna be good because God wanted me to do this, and I'm doing it, and it was hard.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I mean, I remember you had co-signed for an apartment for me down. Man, yes, that totally was a sacrifice. And I think that any mother of college students, that mother is making sacrifice upon sacrifice upon sacrifice, especially if that kid is not in the house with you. They're away at school. You do not want them hungry. You don't want them lacking. If they need a book, if they need money for the what do you call it? The public, any kind of transportation, if they're doing that, the metro thing, whatever it is, you just want to be that support system. And I'm telling you, I know. And, I remember too, when after I came back from Mississippi, I thought to myself, like, wow, my mom really did a whole lot. Because we drove down there. That's a whole other story. But yes. So, and I do appreciate what you did as well, my love.
I know you do.
So I think I want to just kind of like circle back a little bit because before we actually got started, you guys were talking about that you guys were, in the house at different times. But Mom, tell me what for you with you, being raised, and of course you guys lived in a strict household or whatever, but how is life? Let me give you an example. So for me, when I started out, I just thought life would be one way, and then it turned out another way. How did you adjust being a woman, just like to the difference that life is opposed to how we think it should be or how we think it's going to be when we start out? Talk to me a little bit about that adjustment and what I know the eye-opening experience that I know you had.
Oh my God, I was hard-headed. Okay. I say now today that, Mom, I knew exactly what you meant.
Yep.
You know, I say often that I get it, but when I was ready to leave home. I wanted to just be in the world and just do what I wanted to do. And Lord knows I bumped my head many times because I strayed from what I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
So after I bumped my head enough, I seen that this is real. This real life. This a real thing. And you better pick it up. Even as being a young mother,
Mm-hmm.
it was me. My mom told me one time, everything ain't about you, Shirley. You ain't the only one going through. And I used to get angry and say, wow, well,
Yeah.
I'm the only one telling you about what I'm going through right now. And I found out later in life that that's so true. And that helped me not to be as selfish,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to realize that you're not the only one going through. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of my troubles I brought on myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming from this strict family, okay? Coming from this strict household, uh uh spiritual household, and then getting out to see parts of the world, it was like I was having fun. But
Mm-hmm.
it didn't end up that way. It got real.
Yeah.
And so when it got real is when I began to pay attention to life.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention, mother this child. Okay, it's just not about you. Mother this child, bring her up right. You know the way. Because
Mm-hmm.
see, it wasn't that we didn't know. We just was rebellious.
Yeah.
We was ready to get out into the world and thought that it was so flamboyant and so this big old world out here, but found out that you have to live a decent life the way your mother told you that you would have to live. The things that your mother told you was true. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to be easy. She would always say that it ain't easy,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result of it, here I am today serving God.
I
Like,
think that, there are young women who are young mothers or just young women, period, who need to hear from myself and then the generation ahead of me. And we're both saying, both generations are saying that what mom said was right, right? And so this is good for young women who are trying to figure it out to, slow down a little bit. Think about what your mom is saying. Think about what your elders are saying, and take that time to look inside yourself and get to know who you are. And don't be so quick to just, move and want to move out or just want to move out on your own. Take that time, because I'm going to tell you something. As a woman now, a middle-aged woman that I am now,
It's so
man,
hard to believe. It's like time flies, don't it?
oh,
yes,
yes.
yeah, it does. But I'm going to tell you something. I wish that I would have just sat still a little bit more, And I don't, you can't go back, but I'm just saying, I would have saved myself some hardships. I would have
Yeah,
saved.
but I think you have to go through every experience. I think
It make you.
you have a chance now. You still have a chance. You know what I'm saying? I think
Yes.
because growing up, I wasn't one of those kids that grew up wanting, just thinking, oh, I'm gonna get married and be a housewife. I wanted a high powered career. Okay, that's what I baby. When I was graduating from high school, I applied to USC. I was like, I'm going to California and go to school, and so everything got derailed. Okay, none of that happened. So I would say to the young generation, stay the course. You know what I'm saying? Fight for
Mhm.
your dreams and stay on course. I mean, do it. Just don't be so quick to jump into anything. Stay the course and follow your dream. Because
Yes.
right now I'm supposed to be like, a CEO of something. You would have,
Not too
so
late. Still not
Yeah,
too
so I'm
late.
saying stay the course and follow your dreams. And I didn't grow up wanting to be, a housewife or that wasn't what I wanted.
I
So,
didn't
and
either.
it's yeah, and like my mother told me once, and I never will forget this. Was telling her I put all my plans. I'm planning this, I'm planning that, I got this plan, I got this plan. And she looked at me and she said, Julie, your life already planned for you. You don't make plans. God has planned your life. And I still turned around and said to myself, okay. But you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so you do, but I do think you have to, some mistakes that you make, you didn't have to make. You know what I'm saying? You could have, but I think you have to go through every experience and, just evolve and learn from those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
because you learn from trial and error.
you
you
do.
do.
I
And
wish I
it's
wouldn't have had some of the experiences I had, but you
same
know.
here. Same here.
Hmm.
And it's okay to listen to your mom. You
Yeah, it
know,
is.
you used to say, I'm grown. Okay, we understand that you're grown,
Right,
Hmm.
right.
but you can't catch up with us.
That's right. Like
Okay.
I tell my kids, I've been here a little longer and I've seen a lot of different scenarios.
Yeah,
So when
That's
I'm telling
right.
you something, it's because of something that I kind of, you know, have seen it happen and not work out right. So you
yeah,
can listen.
Yeah, you can
You know?
listen. And
for
it's
sure.
Yeah.
okay. It's
Yeah,
okay
you
to
can
listen
listen.
to
It's
your
okay.
mom
Yeah.
and you grown. That's
Yeah.
fine. Because you
Hmm.
For
can
sure.
always learn something. You never stop learning. You can always learn something. And trust me, the one thing I always say is that being mom, we are never going to tell you anything wrong.
Right.
Right.
That that's
For sure.
never.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
never. We're
Hmm.
gonna always
100%.
tell you something for a stepping stone. But
Yeah, for
we're
sure.
always going to uh, tell you things that we hope that will make you greater.
Hmm.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's okay to
Definitely.
listen to us because moms love their children.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, I want to, well, two more things that I want to do before I let y'all go. And I'm just so glad that y'all just came on and to just have this conversation because it's just truly good. I really like it. I want to cover, before we go any further though, every episode, I like to cover our pandemic report. If anyone has been watching the news and keeping up with what's going on, we are now in the middle of a crisis within a crisis. So we have a pandemic, but now we have, I've been calling it the dirty Delta, is what I've been calling it, because this Delta variant is real. And I was looking at something on the news today, and they said that people who are immunocompromised, they have some underlying health issues. They were saying that they even probably need to do a booster, so that just in case they come into contact with this dirty Delta, that they can have a fighting chance to live through it.
Yeah,
Because
Right.
that's just how crazy it is. So I want to just run some Michigan numbers as of August 13th. And in Michigan, we have 1,025,000 cases. We have 21,252 deaths. We have about 14,800,000 plus tested in Michigan, and about 7% of those tests are positive. With regard to the vaccine here in Michigan, we have doses that have been administered is 9,945,000. Now we're close to 1,000,000 administered. And then for people who are fully vaccinated, we're almost at 5 million. So we've got about 49.55%. And based on what I've been hearing on the news, is that they would feel comfortable. The World Health Organization would feel comfortable if that number was closer to mid 70s or higher. So we're not there yet. And the coronavirus still continues to spread, and it's about 5,000 new cases a day now. So,
that's a lot.
so we're still in the woods. We are
Yeah,
still.
we are. And it makes you angry when you see people like in Florida, the governor trying to ban mask mandates. Why do you care if people wear masks? If you don't want to wear one, don't. But you have to realize that these people that are doing these things, like, the people that's in Congress and the Senate and all of those people that's fighting against it, they've been vaccinated. But then they're fighting against people wearing masks and and it's just ridiculous to me. I don't really understand that. And I don't understand it. I don't understand why people don't take this serious. We've been in this for over like a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And I think
But
he's not in touch. He doesn't seem like a person who is in touch.
I think he doesn't care. I think
He's defiant.
I think that he has an agenda on what he's trying to do, and I just think he doesn't care. And I don't see you being a caring person. And he never really shut Florida down, even during the
No.
height of all of this. He never. So I just think he doesn't care. It's like ridiculous to me.
It
I
is.
feel like if this would have been handled correctly in the very beginning, when it first happened, and when that other president knew, if he would have just told the truth
If he would have just told the people.
and let people make their decisions on, you know what I'm saying? If you still want to get out there and do it, okay. But if he would have done the right thing, I don't think we would still be in this. Because at the rate we're going now, this virus is going to mutate and mutate and mutate into something that they're not going to be able to do anything about. If we don't get this under control,
That's so scary to me.
it's very scary, and I don't know. I don't know.
It'll be a while before they get this under control. I remember last year, my doctor told me, I said, well, hopefully, they'll have it together soon. He said, he looked at me, he stopped writing. He said, listen, this probably won't be over until about 2023. I said, what?
Wow.
And that was
So,
very early on.
yes. So,
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, but
I
I
mean,
don't
even
see it.
after they came out and said you don't have to wear your mask if you vaccinated, I continue to wear my mask. I never took my mask off.
I still
Mhm.
wear mine.
Never. I
Yeah.
never took my mask off.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's wise because, they don't know enough about this Delta strand. Uh, there were a couple of people that I heard died having had the vaccine. Now I don't know which vaccine it was because I know we were talking about that, and we were saying it's important to know which vaccine that people had. I think that might make a difference too. But even still, people died having had the vaccine. You know what I mean? So with this, and then like you said, the mutation, they're projecting that there's going to be a mutation that's just going to be.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's going to keep mutating. Once Delta attack enough people, then it's going to mutate into something else. And this Delta is hitting children.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
it's hitting children. So if you're one of those people running around saying you're not getting vaccinated, and you have children, I just think it's selfish. I'm sorry, that's just me. Because there's a chance that you could give it to your baby.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a sacrifice? That would be a sacrifice. Get the vaccine if you have children. Because you just don't want to give it to your child.
Yeah. The FDA approves a third shot.
Yeah, I saw it today. And then I also saw the strong recommendation for the booster if you're immune compromised, which makes sense to me. Yeah.
Which actually, to me, okay, so you said immune compromised. That's more than half of the population in the world. Everybody got something.
Everybody
they said
everybody has something,
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah. Under some underlying health condition.
May not even know that you have it and have it. You know,
Mhm.
you may not even know that you have a high blood pressure, or
Yeah.
that you may not even know. So I mean, it's scary. I don't really see. It's hard to see a way out of this.
Mhm.
I don't see where this ends. I hope it will soon, but I don't see it because it's so divisive. The silliest
Yes.
things are, okay, a mask. You want to argue about a mask? You
Yeah.
go in the store with your mask on. You come outside the store. You take your mask off. It's that plain and that simple to
So
me. I
it's
don't.
so funny that we're talking about this because yesterday I went into a Subway and I saw a good amount of people without masks on. And so uh, as I'm coming out with my mask on, this guy just looks at me and shakes his head. And I thought, are you like what? Are you upset because I have my mask on?
Why do it bother him
He
though?
Right,
literally, he just
right.
literally looked at me and shook his head like, oh my gosh, she's one of them. You know,
But why do it bother people to see somebody with a mask on?
That's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with
why.
you.
And I knew it was because I had my mask on because the people in front of him had no mask on. So I'm one of the people who was in front of him. So I'm crossing back. So I knew that he had an attitude with me about my mask, and I just kept on walking because I just thought, because I think that people like that are probably the people who spread it.
Hmm.
You know? So I just thought, well, whatever.
Just like it's his right, he says, not to have one, it's your right to have one.
You have one. See, that's what I don't get. I don't get why you think you have the right to say, be mad about a mask. Why, if you have the right to be mad about a mask and not want to wear one, I have the right to not be mad about a mask and wear one.
Wear one.
So
Absolutely.
Exactly.
that's what I don't get. What make you think you any more right than I am?
Right. And I'm gonna tell you something. Even if they say next month, okay, we got everything under control, I'm still wearing my mask.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know when I'm gonna take my mask off.
I don't either. I don't either.
I don't know when I'm gonna take it off.
I don't think
telling
I'm
you.
gonna ever be comfortable again without it.
I don't
You know
know.
what? I am right there with you.
I don't know. I just don't know when I'm gonna take my mask off.
I just don't know either.
It could be 2030. Y'all still might take my mask off. I don't
You know
know.
what? I don't think we are ever going to be the same after this. I
No.
really don't. I
No.
don't think we're going to ever be the same. And I think that I don't care, like you said, 2030. I think we're going to, even in 2030, we're going to have a mask within reach. Just because of this experience. We've not ever seen anything like this in our country.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know, look, you're the host, but I have a question for you. How does the pandemic? Has the pandemic changed you at all, or how do you feel? Since this pandemic, how has it changed you? I guess that's
Everything in my life has changed. I'm so glad you asked that. Everything in my life has changed with this pandemic. Every single thing, where I'm gonna go. Because guess what? And I don't know if anybody else can attest to this, but there are certain places that I wear my N95, and there are certain places where I wear my regular mask.
Yes,
Right?
me too.
And I'm telling you, so here's the thing. And that's why I say it's changed everything about me. Because I have to think like, okay, am I going over here? Because if I go here, then I need my N95. If I'm just going to run in here, I can just wear my regular mask. Like, I think about that type of stuff all the time. Not only that, I think I go up and down my stairs more because I'm like, okay, let me make sure I have the other mask with me. Let me make sure I filled up my sanitizer. I think I run more. I honestly think my anxiety is higher. I know that my anxiety is higher because every time especially y'all, since this Delta thing has hit, and I've been looking at these numbers because I pay attention to these numbers every single day. And since this Delta has hit, Now I'm getting back when the virus first hit. When I go into a store, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I didn't do this wrong, or I hope I didn't do that wrong. It's back to when March hit, March of last year. Because March of
Yeah,
last year, you could not tell me that every single time I went to the grocery store as after March of last year that I didn't come back with COVID.
me too. Me
Me
too.
too. Me too.
Yes, yes.
Even even
But
now.
I'm starting to feel that way again, y'all. I woke
Me
up with a
too.
little bit of a sore throat yesterday. I got the pleading the blood of Jesus and everything, y'all.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I know.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, your cousin will tell you that you need that N95 everywhere you go. Okay, he's so serious about this. He'll tell you everywhere you go. He told me that little mask you have on is not doing anything for you. So your N95 mask is what you need because the Delta variant is easier to catch, I guess. So.
Yeah.
You know,
But no,
and
it has. I had so much anxiety throughout this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I literally, like you said, I would get anxiety last year to think about going to the grocery store. Even thinking to go gave me anxiety. When I came back, I would have to sit here and think, okay, did I get too close to that man that was walking down the
Me
aisle? I
too.
mean, just irrational stuff.
yes,
Yes.
You know, did I get too close to anybody? Did I touch? Oh, I gotta wash my hands. Oh, it was really, 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 really bad. I just
Yeah.
really thought I was gonna lose my mind. I
Me
mean,
too.
it just was really, yeah,
you know, it comes with depression.
yeah,
It
yeah,
comes with eating behavior.
yeah,
It comes with rage and anger,
Yes.
and
yeah.
you
And
know,
drinking too much wine. I kept wine in the house.
look. Let me tell you something. It has changed me, even the way I think.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Me too.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
my health. It's
Yeah.
I do everything I can because in 2018 and 2019, I was in the hospital for breathing problems.
Mhm.
But thank God, 20 and 21 so far, I have not been in the hospital, and I prayed not to go that way
Because you've
because
been wearing that mask. You think
I
that
was,
mask haven't helped you from the air and the elements and the pollution I'm
yes,
telling you.
yes,
Hmm.
and I haven't
Hmm.
been on oxygen. I mean, I'm telling you,
That's something to think about.
I'm telling
yeah,
you, people have said, now my allergies have not been as bad, but I've still had them. But people have said they haven't had, like their allergies haven't been as bad. And,
Mm-hmm.
and when I think about it, mine really have not been as bad. But because I've had them, it was horrible.
you think it's the mask?
I mean, it could be because when I go outside, I used to have to roll my windows up when I go past a lot of trees and grass.
Yeah, me too, Auntie. And
I
I
would have to
still
roll my
do.
windows up.
I
Yeah.
still
Yeah,
do.
yeah, I still do too. But I'm
Yeah.
saying I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
I thank God that I haven't caught like the common cold because if I would have caught it, if I catch a common cold in this pandemic, you already know I'm going to be thinking I'm on death doors.
Look at
I
here.
heard, I heard
I'm
it.
so glad I haven't. It would literally terrify me. I'd be like, oh, I'm about to die.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, COVID has changed everything about our lives. It
Yes.
has changed absolutely everything. It has changed the way we make plans, where we go to eat at, where we decide we're going to sit down at, where no nobody even wants to think about a buffet anymore.
Oh
No.
no.
You know what I
I
mean?
was mad that the Whole Foods even opened their hot food thing back up. I
Yeah.
saw people standing there the other day, and I was like, no, thank you.
And I
No.
saw that and just walked right by.
Yeah, I
That's
was like,
right.
Yeah.
yeah. And I haven't been in a restaurant. Actually, I can tell you the exact day. The last time I went inside of a restaurant was March 13th, 2020. That was
Wow.
my last day of work in the office.
Yeah.
Everywhere we've eaten has been outside. Even when I went to DC, everywhere we ate outside. I
Yeah.
don't
And
know.
I began to have concerns about the food
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of
That's
places
always though, but we've
Mm-hmm.
a
always
lot
should
of
have
places
had
was
concern.
closed down, right?
Yeah.
So, what did they do with all that food?
Well, you
Kept it
would
in the
know if
freezer?
you
I
eating
mean,
something bad. You mean from 2020?
yeah,
You think they giving you food from 2020?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be
You
yeah,
mean
surprised.
you think they froze it?
yeah.
I would not be surprised.
Okay, well it's probably gone now because the rest of
Think
some. But you got to think about a lot of restaurants stayed open and just did curbside, and they relied on takeout.
Yeah,
The
people had to
restaurants
get,
that, yeah,
yeah,
some
yeah.
of them
And
stayed open.
also, in our first episode, was it in our first episode, we covered the staffing shortage that we have in Michigan, and I know you'd have to be completely not paying attention to not notice that just about everywhere you go, they're hiring. And
Raise pay too.
so when you think about this shortage in pay, primarily in a lot of the fast food restaurants, you have to consider the preparation of food and all of that stuff now too, because there is the help. They don't have the help that they need. That's something that I've been thinking about too. And I just like you and I went to Boston Market. We were going to go to Boston Market, remember? And they said, oh, they were only doing the orders online, and you couldn't go inside of the Boston Market.
Mm-hmm.
And when we realized that we couldn't go in and look and behold the food, we were like, oh, we pulled right out of that parking lot because we wanted to be able to see what we were getting. So this pandemic has also made me not trust food
Yeah,
places
that's
like
true.
I used to as well, because I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, they don't have a lot of staff, they don't, what's lacking, what's missing, what are they, what are they omitting that they usually would include?
Yeah.
Well,
Or,
that's
what I
true.
mean?
Well, that's true. But and a lot of restaurants are not even back to being open. There's a few restaurants down here that they don't even open. Like they open maybe Thursday through Sunday. They're not even
Okay.
open the full week. You know what I'm saying? Because of
Yeah.
staffing and because, a lot of things are not fully back like they, pre-pandemic.
Oh, that's true. They're not.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And one of the
Nothing
girls,
is fine.
one of the restaurants told me I had went to pick up food, and I told her, I said, well, you guys should go back to having it where you could order online and just pick up. She said, yeah, we can't do that right now because we short staffed. That's too much. It's better for people to call us and, pick it up than to do it online. So have somebody taking the line, pulling those online orders and stuff. So
Mhm.
there's a lot going on. It is with the food too.
It is.
It's all too much.
Well,
Like Mama say, pray over it and just go on.
pray over it and just go.
Just go.
Oh, we learned a lot from. Didn't we learn a lot from her?
Yes, we did. Yes, we
Pray
did.
over it and
Pray over it and go on.
Mhm.
yeah,
Well,
'cause
that
there's a
brings
lot
me
of
to
stuff
my
we need to
next
worry about now.
Yeah.
We are at the end of our broadcast, but I want to share with you something really quickly. Let me just get over here to it because I thought this was so good and so important. Just let me see. So I know that I'm not the only one who have come to love Miss Tabitha Brown, right?
Right.
But
Very
now, and her husband now, though.
Yes. They have Tab and Chance on Fridays.
Yes.
And man, I'm telling you, I think that she is just a godsend, just a breath of fresh air, right?
I do too.
All right. Well, then.
I feel like I know you're on set and we only have you for 20 minutes. So I thought we'd use today, if you agree with me, for people who are going through a moment and just to elaborate on what you said last night, which was a lot of times you go down a road and then you keep going down the road instead of, one thing being wrong and then turning around. Would you say that was what you were trying to convey?
Right. So what I was saying was, how you can be on the course of something, right? Life is happening and things are going really good, right? And all of a sudden something happens that you didn't plan for, or that you planned for, but it didn't go the way you thought it was supposed to go. And now it feels like the whole world is on top of you. But instead of having that mental thought that nothing ever goes right for me, because a lot of times in the past, we've had a lot of things that happen. And one thing, while things are going good, can set us back mentally to make us start thinking that, oh, nothing ever goes right. Just that one moment makes you forget about all the things that are going right. Right? And so I wanted to encourage people to realize you're just having a moment. Everything is not going wrong. You're just having this moment. And this literally came to me when I was in the shower. And it's like God just spoke to me to tell people this. And the analogy that he gave me was, maybe you're on a speed bump. Because, sometimes we're moving so fast. And then when you hit a speed bump, it forces you to slow down. Right? Or maybe you're at a stop sign, because it's time to stop for a second and look both ways before you proceed. Because sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need things to happen to stop us and make us rethink what we're doing, or make us pay attention, right? Or just take our time. A lot of times we're in such a rush for things to be perfect or things to go as planned that we forget that when they don't, it's okay. It's okay. And so that was it. That was really the motivation behind that. And it came to me in my quiet time. I pray in the shower. Me and God have some good conversations in there. And when he give me something, honey, I get out of there and I do a video. So that's why it happened.
What happens when you get into modes? You're always encouraging other people, and you sometimes do share, but how do you get yourself out of a moment?
So I just thought that what a good message to end with, right? You know what? Sometimes things don't happen. And one of the things that you shared, and I deal with this so much, whenever you have had a turbulent beginning or past, a rocky start, sometimes one thing can happen and you start thinking, oh boy, here it comes again. It's almost like a point of PTSD almost.
It probably is, though.
Yeah, because it's like, oh my God, it's happening again. I remember when. It kind of comes to your mind. I remember when comes to your mind, and you're just like, oh my God, it's happening again. But it's important to realize that you're just having a moment, and it's okay. Anybody have final thoughts?
I really enjoyed you ladies today. I think it's important to have conversations with women.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times women don't talk about the important things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's good, and I hope you continue with that, because it is good. So I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I really did enjoy it. Transparency is important too. Women need to get together and have conversations.
Yes.
You all have a good platform to learn even more with the Instagram, the Facebook. Those things are good dialogues as well. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I like women conversations. I like to get together and have conversations with women.
Me too.
I enjoyed myself.
I thoroughly enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
It was really
Yeah,
good.
I thoroughly
Thanks
enjoyed
for
it.
having me.
Thanks
Yeah.
for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
That's the statement. Thanks for coming on. And Tekesa and I were, and I know she would have wanted to be a part of this, but listen, we were saying last week, like, well, we were getting into so much conversation last week that we were like, we got to talk to the generation before us, and who better than our own family, to talk and to just everything that you shared was just so important. And so I'm just so grateful that y'all came on and we were able to talk about a number of things, because really and truthfully, this is real talk. You know what I mean? So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. You who are watching us and you didn't catch up on the previous episodes, Start at episode 5 if you want to go on this whole journey with being woman. We've covered just a lot of stuff, a lot of things that women go through. We talked about menopause. We talked about submission. We talked about marriage. We talked about motherhood. Today, we talked more about motherhood and what the younger generation could learn from those of us who have lived it. So if you this is your first time tuning in, tune in to the other episodes, and you can find that link in the description box. And after this, we're going to be talking to men, because we're going to talk to men about men, because I believe that when we talk about women, we talk to women about women, right? But if we want to know more about men, or even what men want, we need men to tell us. So we're going to be talking to men next on episode 8 of The Spots We Missed. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Nikita Nicole.
The pandemic hit and they didn't know which way to go. So, if you have the ability